Forget Silicon Valley. The next tech revolution is poised to start right here in Orlando. As if our beaches, our theme parks, and our weather wasn't enough, not to mention our lack of state income taxes. I'm Phil Kruse. Welcome to the Orlando Real Estate Lifestyle. Today, we're going to be talking about NeoCity. What is that? NeoCity is a 500-acre parcel located just to the southeast of downtown Kissimmee, across the street from Osceola Heritage Park. So you're talking about 45 minutes or so south of downtown Orlando driving. And it's changing the way people are going to think. It's already doing it. And it's going to change even more the way people think about Orlando and the state of Florida as a whole. We're going to talk about, I'm going to tell you and share with you about how NeoCity plans to revolutionize the concept of what a city is. It's going to be used by other areas around the country as a model moving forward. What is the master plan for NeoCity? And what's the current progress and the key happenings going on out there right now? It might interest you from an investment perspective if you want to buy somewhere in and around it. But first we get into that. Obviously, I am a real estate agent, and one of my main lead sources are listeners like you. So when it's your time to make a real estate decision, think of me, Phil Kruse. That's Kruse with a K, Kruse. Remember that a portion of all my real estate commissions goes to charity, either a charity of your choosing, or if you're not passionate about a particular charity, I'd be happy to donate on your behalf to the New Image Use Center, which is the charity I partner with. I volunteer there every week in downtown Orlando. And don't forget to go on, find my social media channels. I'm all over Instagram and Facebook with all kinds of useful content, supporting you out there as either a buyer or seller of real estate or just somebody who loves Orlando. I do a weekend post every Friday, priming you for what's going on in Orlando. So search me, Phil Kruse, Kruse. Follow me. Follow me on YouTube, follow me on Spotify, turn on your notifications on your phone. You get a notification every Monday when I drop new content. The content is generally about Orlando, lifestyle-oriented content, what's going on, like this one, what's going on in the city, and also real estate tip-based ones like how to live on a lake, part 1 and 2. Also, I interview business leaders in the area. I just interviewed Dobb, with the Ronald McDonald House Charities. So I'm definitely into philanthropy. I'd love to help you on your journey here in the City Beautiful. All right. If you would imagine 50 years from now, and your kids are working in the most tech-forward city in the country, working and living. Their cars, their phones, their smartwatches, and who knows what other gadgets have been invented by then. They're all connected to themselves, but also to the city itself. Most of their fruits and vegetables, their produce, is grown only a few steps away from where they live and work. And they work for $1 trillion semi-conductor company that's headquartered right there. And their walk to work takes them through multiple parks, beautiful cityscape that's seamless, integrating cities, roads, infrastructure, parks, nature, all into one kind of living, breathing organism. This is the vision of NeoCity in South Orlando. But before I get into the status of what NeoCity is today and the broader vision of where it's going to be in the future, I want to skip right to the fun stuff. Okay, what about the innovation? Like I touched on, like your kid, who's walking to work. How is the innovations going to affect them? So one of the big things is that they're going to dig out a gigantic retention pond. So the 500-acre parcel of NeoCity is very close to a large lake, but they're not on the lake. So they're going to dig out a massive retention pond to offset all the wastewater that's going to be created. This used to all be farmland. Okay, so that way you could rain, that water would just go right into the ground, no flooding, no big deal. But if you cover that all with asphalt and buildings, that water's got to go somewhere. So they're going to build a massive retention pond. It's going to look like a lake to manage all the outflow of that stormwater. But of course, they're going to turn that into a beautiful thing. It's going to be integrated into nature, surrounded by landscaping. So it's going to look like a lake. And there's going to be a 3-mile jogging and biking path around that. But they're going to use that retention pond as more than just a place to hold water. It is going to be there to irrigate all the landscaping associated with the entire city. And it's going to be there to irrigate the urban farm, which is going to be a cool situation. So they're not going to have to pull water from anywhere else. It's all going to be collected and reused, saving water. Obviously, huge thing right now. The urban farm is awesome. 10 acres of that 500 acres is going to be devoted to a giant urban farm. It touches on the agricultural past of that area. That region in general is, cattle and farmland. So there's a lot of resources there that they can use, a lot of brain power, but they're going to focus on the innovation and the cutting edge current and future farming things that are going on, with the main focus of reducing water usage. This is the number one issue with farming right now. So they plan to produce all the fruits and vegetables, as I mentioned, for the entire city. So if you have a local restaurant, that's where you're getting it. You're shopping at a local farmer's market, that's where you're getting your produce from right there. You could obviously get involved, probably work or volunteer there. An awesome place to bring your kids. They're going to use things like vertical farming. They're going to have irrigation sensors. They're going to have robots and moving things around, trays, and only irrigating when absolutely necessary at the optimum times during the day, sensing, the humidity in the air, the sunlight. This all changes with our seasons, and it's going to be done with AI and other robotic protocols. Do you have any kids out there? I'm sure you do. And if you do, they probably watch the Magic School Bus, and you've probably maybe seen the episode of Magic School Bus that talks about the future of farming. If you haven't, go check it out. It's actually really informative for us adults, and it talks about a lot of this stuff. And I also had a super interesting guest on my podcast a few months ago, Michael Williamson with PIP Horticulture. He focuses on the cannabis space, but he also does grow houses for non-cannabis related activities like growing lettuce and stuff, where he talks about the vertical farming and these special trays that he has patents for and stuff like that. So this is the kind of high-end technology that is going to be in NeoCity for producing fruits and vegetables. Now, as far as integrating pedestrian activities, cycling, healthy lifestyle, mental well-being, being outside of a clean, beautiful environment, integrating that with smart car infrastructure and buildings. This is going to be a big thing. How are they going to do that? Smart everything. Smart traffic lights, smart street lights, smart indicators on the ground. If you're walking at night, that can come off and on. Smart crosswalk sensors. Imagine if you didn't have to hit a button or do anything else to signal to traffic or to a traffic light that you're a pedestrian waiting to cross the street. These sensors are going to sense that you're approaching, and they are going to take that data, you approaching, and they're going to put it into their algorithm along with the other traffic patterns going on and time when you should be able to cross the street. Of course, this is going to be done in a safe way, but also very efficient. So you're not the guy or girl sitting in your car. Finally, you think the light's going to turn green when in reality, a pedestrian just hit a button, all four lights turn red, and everyone's sitting there like, what the heck's going on? We've all been there, know how frustrating that can be. There's going to be sensors and cameras all over. You might be thinking, I'm worried about Big Brother and too many people watching me and stuff. Well, that's just something you're going to have to get over with if that's the way you're thinking, or maybe just move out into the country. If that's your prerogative, so be it. But NeoCity is not going to be the place for you if that's the case. All these cameras and sensors everywhere are going to work with your smart technology if you choose to, and it's going to help you live your best life, your safest life, predict your patterns, and it's going to feed the city's data model to make it as efficient as possible to get around in the safest way possible. The stormwater management is going to be extremely cutting edge. All the rainwater is going to flow, as I said, into the retention pond. You're going to have the native landscaping. You're going to have special types of building materials that allow water to percolate down and be diverted into the storm management system. So not only can we avoid flooding and infrastructure issues during hurricanes and massive rain events, but we can flip that on its head and turn those events into a benefit. And of course, by planting native landscaping and plants that don't need a lot of water, we don't have to waste a lot of money on irrigating grass and stuff like that. This is what we should all be doing in our yards, by the way, planting native landscaping. Of course, you're going to have energy efficient architecture and buildings. If you're not familiar with some of the cutting edge building technologies that are out there with smart windows and nanotechnology and coatings you can put on windows and shade management with automatic blinds and things that hang over windows, commercial buildings on the outside that could open and close at different times of day, depending on where the sun is, specialized air conditioning technology. That is all going to be coming here. It's going to squeeze out every last drop of energy efficiency right there in NeoCity. And this is just all going to add to the allure of the fact that this is a cutting edge technology hub, a city built to support the surrounding semiconductor and technology businesses that are happening right there. With that said, it needs to be attractive. It needs to be attractive to your kid who's going to be living and working there, or maybe to you in the near future. There's going to be so much parks, walking and biking trails, both ones that are kind of more urban on asphalt and pavement, and those that are integrated into nature. You're going to have city centers and so many green spaces for you and your kids to go and enjoy, that it's not going to be your traditional benign city environment like you see in downtown Orlando, where there's just all gray and asphalt and buildings, which is being changed, by the way. I did a podcast episode 3 weeks ago about the vision of downtown Orlando and how, as Mayor Dyer wants to transform it to a giant park. This is kind of what they're going to do here, but they're going to do it at the beginning. So you're not going to have just ugly buildings everywhere. It's going to be amazing. I mentioned the 3-mile pond loop, and these linear parks is what they're called. They're going to have. So as you have long streets, next to the street all the way is going to be park. So you don't have to walk next to the cars. You can walk in the shade and the trees and have benches and all kinds of little nodes of fitness and activities and street art. It's just really going to make living and getting through the city a human experience that doesn't need to be escaped, right? If you live in New York City, you want to escape and get to the outside of the city. You want to go to Central Park. Hopefully that's not the case here. If you've ever built a home or gone through the building process in any capacity, you know how long that can take. A custom home can take 1 to 2 years. A home from a track home builder like Lennar, that they're just banging them out, maybe they can do them in 6 to 8 months. Oftentimes there's delays. Well, how long does it take to build a whole freaking city? If it takes a custom home 1 to 2 years. I mentioned your kid might be living and working there in 50 years. I mean, is that really even a realistic timeline? So let's talk about how long it's going to take, but break it down by first what's happening now. So you can get a snapshot in your head and imagine what the progress is of a 500 acre parcel shaped like a trapezoid down there south of Kissimmee. NeoCity had their main road completed in 2021. So it was conceived and incepted back in 2017 by the Osceola Board of County Commissioners and a bunch of private and public partnerships. Okay, so it was conceived roughly in 2017. It took them all the way up in 2021 just to complete the major 2-mile stretch of NeoCity Way, which is going to be like their main street. It's done. We have now buildings on there. It's connecting to other major roadways. You can drive through it if you want. I suggest you go check it out. The Center for Neovation. It used to be called the Florida Advanced Manufacturing Research Center. It was ran by UCF. Now it's ran by a private company. That is done on the southwest corner, which is where phase 1 of NeoCity is being built in the southeast. In the southeast corner of the trapezoid is the city of Neovation. How fun is that? It's a 100,000 square foot facility dedicated to semiconductor research, manufacturing, packaging, all of that stuff. It is one of the most advanced research facilities, period, in the entire Western Hemisphere. In that building alone already houses 3 separate semiconductor related companies or businesses. One is a nonprofit called Bridge, BRIDG. It is an acronym standing for Bridging the Innovation and Development Gap. But broadly speaking, NeoCity's focus today is part of their 50-year plan, where we're at in the plan right now, where you already have the road completed, you already have the Center of Neovation built and operating, and has been for a few years. Their key focus now is continuing to establish key partnerships with private industry and source funding from the state and federal and private levels. For example, a billionaire developer out of South Korea has already announced plans to build the 1.2 billion with a B mixed use city center in the heart of NeoCity. That's obviously going to be happening in the future, but that's a hell of an investment from a super established property developer. One thing you're going to notice as I describe and continue to describe what's going on in NeoCity is this connection with South Korea. South Korea is one of the biggest economies in the world. It's a small country, but packs a punch. You're talking brands like Samsung, obviously number one. Then you have Hyundai, you have Kia, and you have a whole host of other massive technology-based companies in South Korea. Luckily, is a friendly democracy that we have strong ties with, and we have connections with them through these partnerships that we've generated through this push for Orlando to become a tech hub. So you got a lot of South Korean money coming here specifically to NeoCity. But I want to focus on Bridge really quick, just to make sure you understand that Bridge is a huge part of what's going on down there. Again, bridging the innovation and development gap. That's what that stands for. And they're focusing on advanced system integration and packaging. I don't know what the hell that means, and you probably don't either. All I know, all you need to understand is that they're a key player. And if you do more research and start learning more about NeoCity, you're going to understand that Bridge is one of the key institutions driving the growth in that region. NeoCity, the NeoCity collaboration, another entity associated with NeoCity, just won a $160 million grant. Just happened from the National Science Foundation. It's going to be paid out over 10 years. So we got money already coming in from the federal government. Osceola County, okay, which is where NeoCity is located, okay, if I didn't imply that earlier, they received a $72 million federal grant as part of the Build Back Better regional challenge and $50 million from the state of Florida so that they can continue to put the infrastructure in place to connect NeoCity to itself, but also to all the other aspects of Osceola County and therefore Orlando, so to make sure that we can all get there and enjoy this beautiful place. Another huge announcement that just recently happened that is so big for NeoCity is a company, again, out of South Korea called ELSPES, ELSPES. That's an acronym. They plan to invest $470 million and build their global headquarters right here. So you have a South Korean company that's going to be moving their global headquarters to the US. And no, they're not moving to California. They're not moving to Texas. They're not moving to the middle of nowhere, United States. They're moving right here to the best city in the United States, Orlando, with no state income tax, with the best weather in the United States, with a bunch of land. This is the huge thing. There's so much land we still have. And that's one of the reasons they can come here and build a massive global headquarters. They build silicon capacitors, which is huge. Look, semiconductors, microchips are a huge part of what we do in everyday life. You can't be listening or watching this podcast without semiconductor technology and microchips. And we had an issue during COVID getting microchips from China. They're made out of Taiwan, which is essentially controlled by China. That's changing. You have NVIDIA. Anybody out there who has stock portfolios, you probably have NVIDIA in your, I think I'm pronouncing that right, but anyway, massive multi-trillion-dollar player in the Silicon Valley space, in the semiconductor space. We're bringing that back to the US. We're going to take it over, and we're going to make sure we're not caught with our pants down next time there's a microchip shortage. We couldn't build cars. We couldn't do anything. So that company, ELSPES, expects to create 600 jobs, just that company alone, with an average salary of $85,000. And that's going to be right there in NeoCity. And can you imagine having the idea to make something like NeoCity happen? You know, I've been lucky enough to bump into some people and meet some people recently they're these visionaries, and they have the ability to imagine things like this, but not just imagine, to have the audacity and the courage to pursue it, and the resources, generally financial resources, but just as important, the human resources, to actually turn this dream into reality. So how did this start? How did NeoCity come about? Well, you had all this land in Osceola County, had visions with the local citizens and business developers in 2017 to plan this over 18 months with awesome Osceola County commissioners. And they set a 50-year plan and earmarked all this land to make this happen. We're right now kind of in the 10-year version of this plan. And that's what I was referring to previously with what's going on. So 50-year plans. The first year, the idea was to build the headquarters for the Neovation facility and a place to house the Bridge nonprofit. That's done. I told you. The 10-year plan is to add, by the end of the 10-year plan, is to add 1 million square feet to the eastern section, which has not been completed yet. We have a lot of square footage down there with the Neovation facility. But in addition is to set up the infrastructure for future development. That's the road, NeoCity Way. Okay, so we're getting there for the 10-year plan. By the time we're done with the 25-year plan, you could expect 5 million square feet of space. That's about half of the development. And we're going to have some of the innovations that I mentioned. There's going to be residential. It's going to be a city residential. You're talking condos, apartments. There's going to be retail. There's going to be restaurants. There's going to be mixed use. So now it's going to actually start feeling like a city. And the 50-year plan, or imagine you got to plan this thing 50 years out, is for it to be done. You're going to have 10 million square feet of mixed use. About 2 million of that is going to be residential space. And all the infrastructure is going to be in place to connect NeoCity to other developments in and around it. So you can imagine a place like the Villages on a massive scale, but where it starts in a node, in an area, but then you have all the infrastructure that you build with uh, planning in the future and planning ahead so that the other municipalities, other cities, other uh, land gets turned over and developed. It's all going to be able to connect seamlessly to NeoCity in 50 years. So some of the knock-on benefits of this happening are, things that you can't imagine happening. So the Wolf family came in and bought Orlando City Soccer. Okay, the Wolf family is a billionaire family. They own the Minnesota Vikings. He's a massive property developer, and he is all in on Orlando. So he's already setting up an investment strategy with Osceola County to redevelop Osceola Heritage Park, which is literally across the street, the main thoroughfare to across the street from where NeoCity is. So this is already happening, where you're going to have a mixed use, residential commercial park type facility being redone. And he's going to expand the training facilities for Orlando City. So yes, it does it does coincide with something with Orlando City, but it's still great. And you're going to see continued development in the surrounding area. Florida, and not just Orlando, but Florida in general, is going to continue to boom. We're going to continue to be a high tech hub that's going to get bigger and bigger. And part of that is the Florida High Tech Corridor, which is a coalition that was put together a number of years ago. Think about this. We have UCF right here in Orlando, arguably the largest university in the country on any given year. You have USF right there in Tampa, about an hour and a half from us. And then you have the University of Florida about 2 hours to the north, which is one of the best public schools in the entire country. All tech heavy, tons of research going on. And we're all within about 2 or 3 hours drive of each other. If you connect all of those with like a big paintbrush, that's about 23 counties. That is your Florida high-tech corridor, and everybody's working together with synergies. All those universities are working together to help things like NeoCity come. Think about it. Think about the synergy. The more technology is here, the more kids are going to be interested in technology. The more people are going to be attracted to come to those universities and spend their money on an education. And guess what? They can place your kids in tech jobs right there, right down the street at a place like NeoCity, or right down the street in one of any of the 23 counties that's going to just continue to grow with all kinds of opportunity. There is a giant smart car test track in Auburndale between Orlando and Lakeland. It's closer to Lakeland, so not, maybe an hour drive, if that, from Orlando. It's a huge, massive smart car test track. It's already operational, so that we can have the smart technologies here. We already have the LiDAR and the radar and the different sensors being manufactured here in Orlando and in the surrounding counties. And so we have that test track. I mean, it's just the tip of the iceberg, guys. It just gets me so excited to talk about Orlando and how much opportunity is here. What about Disney? I haven't even mentioned Disney. Disney has they announced earlier this year a $17 billion with a B dollar expansion to upgrade and park infrastructure and all that stuff. And the rumor is they're going to be building the fifth park. I don't think anybody can understand how they could spend $17 billion without building an entire new theme park. So you better believe that's coming. And with all of this stuff, NeoCity, the universities, Disney, the technology, you're talking job creation. You're talking economic stability. And we're not talking the type of jobs that are low paying or fleeting, that are based on historically our tourism industry. These are established jobs, long-lasting jobs, salaried jobs, lifelong jobs in many cases, establishing the tax base of places other than Orange County, like Osceola County, like Polk County, where the test track is. And it's only going to make Orlando a more attractive place and a more stable place to live relative to economic factors, affluence, and just great things to do. You're already super close to the beach. So living in Orlando is the best, and NeoCity is going to be a big part of our future. If you have any more questions about NeoCity, DM me about my real estate services. I'm a listing specialist. I can help your home sell fast, not just fast, but at the highest price together. even in today's balanced market. We're finally at a balanced market for the first time in probably a decade, where buyers and sellers are kind of equal footing. So I can help you understand that, whether you're a buyer or a seller. And regardless of if you're a buyer or seller, a portion of all my real estate commissions goes to charity, as I mentioned. Be sure to follow me on Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, all the social media platforms. Phil Kruse, that's Kruse with a K, Kruse. Google it, find me on your platform, search that, put Orlando, put real estate after my name. You're going to find me. Be sure to follow me, follow my podcast, click the notifications on Spotify or Apple Podcasts, and turn on the notifications on YouTube so you get notified every time one of my new episodes drops. Thank you so much for listening, and always know that your best life in Orlando is within reach. Keep embracing every moment. Cheers.